Yeah, sure. I don't know what to say about myself really. I'm the bane of CCP Manifest usually, as I'm usually the one who says the inappropriate stuff. But yeah, so I'm Falcon. I'm the EV Universe Community Manager, and I was part of the team that actually put together the um the MR Championships. So yeah, it was good fun to be a part of. It was great to actually sit down and put something together again after sort of a 10-year gap. And I'm interested to hear what some of our participants and our commentators have to say about it, because this will be the first time I've got some sort of really face-to-face feedback other than FanFest.
Since Jack can't hear you, I'm just gonna say that over. Like, there's some slight microphone difficulties. You guys can't hear Rain, but you can hear everyone else. Unfortunately, Rain is the most important person here, as she's the host. So we're gonna have to get that sorted.
We could just totally hijack the show though. That would be cool.
Yeah, exactly. It can be the CCP Falcon show.
All right.
Right. Are you using XSplit or OBS?
I'm using XSplit. I figured it out, guys. I got it. So
Okay, yeah, because there's like an actual mic icon.
yeah, so I'm using OBS Studio, which is slightly different. So instead of the settings, you have to like click the gear icon and like try to find it in the gear and everything. So I figured it out. It says that you guys can hear me. So if I sound bad, let me know. So we're gonna start over. So you guys heard Falcon's introduction. We're talking about the MR Championship, which Falcon helped put on. Elise was a commentator. Lysus and Kelon were the participants. Elise, if you want to give us a little background about yourself, I suppose.
I'm Elise Randolph. I was a commentator for the last two Alliance tournaments and for the March Championships. I was like really happy to be so. I was also a participant in the March Championships, but I was so bad I lost in like the first weekend, so I didn't get to make it to the finals like everyone else. Like literally everyone else in this channel did. So, but it was a good time. I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed my time commentating. It's one of Alliance tournament stuff in that format is basically the thing that I like the most in EVE Online right now, and I'm totally in love with it. So I was like really happy to be able to be a part of it, even though I lost horribly.
Yeah, you lost, so then you had to be a commentator. So, I mean, I guess it all works out, right? All right.
Yeah, totally.
All right, Lysis, you want to give us a little background about yourself and I guess the house you flew for?
Yeah. Been playing the game for 10 years. I've pretty much done everything in the game. Love tournaments. When I saw that the March Championships was a thing that was gonna start, and it was right after Alliance tournament, I was totally hooked on tournaments, and I totally wanted to be a part of it. Luckily got picked as one of the participants by role playing as this super veteran pilot that just didn't care anymore and liked to kill everybody and was just so elitist that he started trying to kill people in procurers. And yeah, that got me selected.
That was the background you selected for your character? Was kind of an elite
that was
douchebag?
totally background. Yeah, like my enemies fear me so much. Like clear systems as I come into them, and then I legit linked like 20 kills of me soloing stuff in Procure from the kill board to prove that I've murdered many people.
I mean, I guess if it works, it works. All right, Kelon, what about you? And you were the Amar champion, so do you want to give us a little background about that and how you got in?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, and I may not remember correctly, I think it was Sutonia who told me about the Mar Championships. I mean, I think I would have heard eventually anyway, but I find it a little ironic considering what happened in the first round of the Mar Championships. Yeah, I heard about it, and it sounded like a really easy way to try to get an AT level ship. I mean, notice you don't have to put weekends and weekends and weekends into practicing for the championship. You just sign up and you just go in for like 2 or 3 weekends, and you're kind of either you through or you're not, and it's over then.
Yeah, because I understand. So like the AT kind of has a similar, like not a similar rule set, but the rule set's pretty defined ahead of time. Whereas the MR Championship, they kind of threw that in where you kind of only knew the rules either a day before. So your practicing was kind of kind of ad-libbed because you may not know what you can or cannot fly or how you can or cannot fly. Is that correct?
Yeah, I just was a lot more laid back than I feel the Alliance tournament stuff it usually is.
Yeah, and I think that was CCP's intent. Is that right, Falcon? For you guys to kind of have a tournament type thing that everyone could get in rather than just sort of the veteran older players?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely the intention, and we kind of also wanted to throw a few wrenches into the works of people as well. And that was why kind of some of the rule sets were a little bit oddball. It was kind of off the wall. Then for the finals as well, we sort of didn't give the guys much heads up on exactly what they'd be doing or how or why or where or when. So yeah, I mean, that was kind of the idea, was just to sort of level the playing field, because the Alliance tournament tends to be about sort of the big sort of powerful groups that have the money and the training and the skilled pilots to throw at it, but we wanted to kind of lower the entry bar and just see if we could do something a little bit more interesting with a different format. And yeah, I think it kind of worked. We got some pretty good fights out of it.
Yeah, I know. I remember I was at FanFest and there was a group there. I think they were the group that beat Elise's group, but they were beyond just tournaments, but as players, they were just role players. And they were so excited for the MR Championship because they're like, oh, now we can focus on what we really enjoy in game while being able to do all these not player run events, but all these like big spotlight, big name things. Because I know role playing in EVE isn't really as popular besides maybe I want to say Max Singularity that everyone knows.
Yeah, that was Matara Newell's team actually, and they did the cosplaying as like Sarum loyalists and stuff like that, and they are definitely the team that beat me. They were the representatives from House Sarum.
Nice. And so Falcon, I know the last MR Championship was, I want to say, over 10 years ago, like 2003 or 2004. But can you tell? I know they said, I think it was Antiquarian mentioned that there probably won't be another MR Championship because I guess I want to say the NPCs tend to live hundreds of years long, so that like Eve probably won't be around for hundreds of years, as far as I know, let alone the players themselves. So can you talk to us about kind of how you decided on the MR Championship of all the other like races and factions in game?
It's okay. Eve will be around in 500 years' time. We'll just be playing it through like direct neural links or something like that. But yeah, I mean, in terms of backstory, yeah. So the MR Empire had an unfortunate turn of events for the last decade when they went through like, what was it, 3 leaders in 10 years, which is unheard of. It's never really happened before. But yeah, generally on average, an MR Emperor lives anywhere between sort of 350 and 550 years through extensive use of cyber implantation, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think it was sort of, we wanted to break the mold a little bit. We kind of wanted to go back to sort of the roots of the MR Empire and try something again. And the original MR Championships was actually a frigate-only tournament. It was way back in the day, mainly because no one really had anything other than frigates and cruisers back then, because everyone was poor. And Eve was in its early days. There was only 4 classes of hulls back then too. There was just frigate, cruiser, battleship, and industrial. So it didn't make for very compelling sort of meta and loadouts when there was only 4 classes in game. But yeah, it's one of those things where we just decided we want to go back to the roots. We wanted to change the leadership in the MR Empire. And we were looking at what we could do and how we could really engage people. We also wanted a really nice event to headline FanFest with on the Friday night. We had, Worlds Collide in 2015. 2016, we wanted to try something a little bit different. So, yeah, it was just born of an idea between the tournament team, the storyline team, who both work really closely together anyway. And we decided to give it a shot, and it seemed to work out.
Awesome. I know a lot of people have been excited about that. At least from what I saw, there was a lot of hype around it.
Yeah, people seemed super happy with it. I mean, it was there was a couple of small hiccups in terms of a couple of matches that were a little bit problematic. One of Max Singularity's matches with the magnet issue when they weren't in the points total and the tool, that kind of stuff. But we ironed this stuff pretty quick. So yeah, I mean, it went pretty well. People seemed pretty happy with it. And it was a nice test to see how interested people would be in like sort of a more lore intense and fiction based tournament. I think it went pretty well. It seemed nice.
Yeah, because I remember kind of following the dev blogs leading up to it when the Empress was killed by drifters, and I know I'm not really a fan of that sort. I'm not really like a lore fan because I was like, oh, well, that's interesting, but how does that affect me in game? Because I know people were flying and trying to protect her, and obviously they failed. I guess drifters came in and killed her. But then seeing that the after effects of that story then could directly affect players, where not only was there this big tournament, but it was streamed live. It was at FanFest where people could see the I believe the two final teams were flown out there to compete as well. So I thought that was a really interesting take to make something that a lot of players don't pay attention to, like the lore, and make it closer to where, you know, it's kind of like this big title, big name stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really nice to see as well that you know, there was a couple of teams in there who did really well, and it was like there's this common misconception in Eve that was like it was it's lol, role players can't PvP basically. And it was really interesting to see teams like Matara Newell's team, for instance, who came through and really like they punched they punched well above their weight. They really surprised people and they came out on top. And it ended up being a really, really good show. And it also brought a few new faces to the forefront as well, because some of these people, you know, you hear about the big guys who are always part of the Alliance tournament. They're always heading up the teams for the biggest, most popular, and most, you know, well-known alliances. But I think this brought a lot of people out of the woodwork who necessarily might not have been so prominent had the MR Championships not happened. It really shed light on some new, really, really skilled pilots that we've got who are really good in sort of small gang combat. So yeah, I think it was just nice on all fronts. It seemed to work really well.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, because we have both Lysus and Elise who are with Hard Knocks and PL, and I recognize those names from the Alliance tournament games that I saw. But then we also have Kelon, and I know from talking to him at FanFest, he mentioned that he had never done player tournaments, and here he comes leading on top. Like he won, obviously. He like greatly succeeded, and so had it only been just the Alliance tournament, he may have never never shown his face, because he may not want to commit that much time, because I know the Alliance tournament takes a lot of work for these players. Do you have anything to add to that, Kelon? Like, how does it feel going from, I want to say, almost zero to hero, where you didn't do tournaments and then now you're the MR champion?
Feels pretty good. I have to put a lot of thanks to my team, who actually do have tournament experience, so I wasn't going in completely blind.
May I ask, how did you manage to get the captain position if you were the one with, I would say, the least experience with tournaments?
I came up with the idea, and I recruited other people to my scheme, and I also had the best standings for the MAR in the group, so it made sense for me to present myself as the captain.
Right, because you actually had to have good standings with the MAR in game. Just the captain, though, correct? The other team members.
Yeah, the captain needed decent standings, and the retainers had to have at least 0.5, I think. I can't remember exactly what the captain had to have. I think it was a little bit more.
Oh, so was that just by chance, or did you actually have to do grind ratting standings just to get that?
I just happened to have the standings already from my missioning pass. It just happened to mission for MAR, and I already had like 9.0 MAR standings or something.
Not bad. What about you, Elise and Lysus? Did you guys have to grind standings?
Man, I was super mad. I saw Lysus at the little I forget what they're called, but the agents in space. Yeah, the Cosmos mission.
Yeah,
the Cosmos. I saw Lysus there turning into tags and getting his standings, but I decided to go like super ultra mega hyper nerd, so I ratted until I got like a 9.9 standing. I had to rat for like 3 weeks straight. I just did level 4 missions for 3 weeks straight. It was terrible. I hated myself, but I needed to do it because I wanted to be like the best of the best, and then I lost.
But
but
maybe
more PvP.
Oh, I was doing the same thing. I was doing the missions, but I was streaming, and the people were like, "Why are you doing that? Why don't you go to the Cosmos?" I was like, "Oh my god, I didn't even know those existed. Rip me." So that I completely stopped all missioning and did the Cosmos. That's when I saw you, and that's all I had to do was just Cosmos.
So,
I decided I researched the lore really hard, and I found out like all the people that I was playing for House Sarum. I found all the Amar Corps that Sarum really liked, and like really liked Sarum. So I like did missions for every single like Sarum aligned corp in the lore, and I was like, yeah, this is gonna get me there. And then I felt super dumb because like no one else did nearly enough that level of NPC.
So what exactly is the Cosmos? I've never heard of that, but I'm not a huge Amar fan, I guess.
It's pretty
There's a
much a warp-in area, kind of like a site in high sec, and you go there and there's just agents in space, and they give you like these little missions, and by doing them, I think you have to get like tagged or something if I remember correctly. By doing them, you get actual faction standings, our actual faction standings that way, and normally the only way to get those faction standings is by doing storyline missions.
Oh,
And these
okay.
kind of like a shortcut to do it, and pretty much in that same system, there's people selling those items that they ask you to get, so you can just buy it at the station.
Yeah,
and then turn them
there's
in.
basically a series of one-time missions, and there's an area where all the missions are located. And it's just most of it is like fetch me this item or give me this item, and sometimes the missions require items from other missions.
Okay, so it's
I remember when I ran it.
so it's kind of like mission running, but it's like easy mode compared to Elise.
Yeah,
It's like-
exactly.
It depends on the missions. They vary in difficulty, and the Kaldari Cosmos area has a low sec pocket, which has people who want to relieve you of your 8% armor implants and such.
These other
Jesus.
ones that we used were actually they're Cosmos data centers. They're essentially like things in game where you can, if you ever screw up your standings like super bad, they give you like a means to fix them. The game gives you a means to fix them by just turning in tags for standing.
Okay, that makes
and
sense.
and yeah, but I mean, like Lysus was saying, you can just buy the standings or buy the tags and then get the standings, so you don't have to do anything for it. But I just logged in to see what my standings were, and like Amar Navy 9.5, Amar Fleet or Amatar Fleet 9.6, Sarum Navy 9.3. I went like a complete nerd on all of these. Feels so bad.
Hey, maybe in 100 years you can use your old account to play with when your brain's in
Yeah,
a jar or
exactly.
something.
Yeah, it'll be great. When I'm like 130, I'll be participating in the next Amar championships. I won't have to do any work.
Exactly, it's perfect.
I was playing the long game the whole time.
Perfect.
All right, so let's talk about. I know we kind of touched on the rules of the Amar Championship, but can we? I kind of want to expand more on that because I find that to be the most interesting aspect of this tournament, because I know the AT tournament rules are a little. They're not complicated, but I always think they're kind of static. Like they always, from year to year, they're generally always the same. They always talk about the point system, etc. Whereas the Amar Championship, it was each ship was the same amount of points, so you always had to have 4 people. You had 4 ships, but then they changed the rules based on each kind of tournament or each kind of round, where you had to fly XYZ ships or only cruisers and frigates or something along those lines. So I don't know, if, Falcon, if you're familiar with that, or if Kelon and Lysus want to talk about their experiences with that.
Well, I don't have any experiences with it per se because I wasn't actually flying in it, but yeah, I mean, one of the things that we tried to do was we tried to mix it up as much as possible, and just make it as difficult to form like a solid, stable meta that would be used like match in, match out. The whole idea was to throw curveballs and challenges at every person who took part. And as well as that, some of the matches were kind of a little bit themed towards each of the houses as well, especially in sort of the qualifying stages before we went to the 6 finalists. So yeah, I mean, it was sort of a cross between wanting to throw curveballs at each team and each individual who was kind of having to come up with loadouts, and also wanting to stay true to the law of some of the houses as well, and like have them basically have the people who were fighting to become champion for a given house fly in like ships of each air's choice kind of thing. So yeah, it was a little bit backstory theme, but it was also just us being kind of a little bit of a pain in the ass trying to get people to think outside the box.
Yeah, and so Lysus and Kelon, can you talk a little bit about how you guys kind of had to either practice or adapt for these rules? If Kelon, if you want to start. Oh, sorry, Lysus.
No, Lysus, go first.
Okay, sure. Like we just came off Alliance tournament, and I think we were doing some even T stuff as well. And so we thought, might as well practice and get used to ships. And like during like our practice, we realized, yeah, you know what? Probably all of this is not a good idea because we're just wasting time. Of like trying to create a meta in a sense for any of the rule sets were actually out or what we knew we could fly, but more became of let's just get familiar with the Marian type ships and what the meta within the Mar type ships should be and what's the best fittings. So that's what it kind of came out to be before we even knew exactly what ships we could even fly. Kind of getting the idea of what kind of way you want to fly our Mar ships.
All right, and Kelon?
I was already fairly familiar with MR ships before that because I most of my top of my kill board ships most used are Amarian, so it was more about trying to make sure I could fly with my teammates I had selected and make sure we could communicate well and make sure we all knew what we were talking about. So I went flying with them.
Okay, so you guys just did random small game stuff just to see if you wouldn't lose your cool when things got bad.
Well, it definitely changed. Like then, like the first weekend, the knockout stages, we found out exactly what ships we have to use. That went into like, okay, the match is gonna be. I think we had a day of prep, and in that day of prep, we just theory crafted and tried different different scenarios of the 4v4 tournament and which would be the best mix of ships or what the best fittings. Like I know we had one matchup that we were I think in Chorusers and I don't know if it was Dragoons. And we decided to do shield instead of armor and do kiting, and I know the other teams they did like armor no prop with ECM drones in the start. Luckily for us, we won. But then even after that match, we had like a good hour before we had to fight. We went and practiced again for our next match for a good 30 minutes, just kind of getting used to the other comp that we were going to use.
So that was actually between matches live when CCP was streaming that. You were
Oh yeah.
You guys were off just practicing like on your own.
Yep.
I mean, hey, if it
Making
works.
sure we were very comfortable and knew exactly what our strategy was.
Yeah, that makes sense because you guys, I think for the initial matches, the rules came out, was it 24 or 48 hours ahead of time? So you really had like minimal time to practice. Is that right?
Yeah, and the funny thing is that that 24-hour block when it came out, my internet went down, so I was only able to practice a little bit, and really most of our practice was the day of.
Okay, that makes sense. How stressful was that for you guys? Like, did you feel the pressure to like do well, or were you just like, well, we're going live in 3 hours, we might as well just wing it and just try the best we can?
Well, we definitely wanted to have a good performance, especially since we were all very comfortable with each other from the past 6 months of practicing for Alliance tournament. Just I kind of already knew what pilots I wanted to pick too when I was applying to become one of the champions.
Okay.
So it wasn't like hectic. It was more in lines of it was challenging.
That's a very good way to put it. And then you guys were both in the finals, so I know. So I'm kind of familiar with that since I was obviously at FanFest and I was obviously talking to you guys at FanFest. But for the people watching, I know the finals you guys flew in on Wednesday. They kind of stuck you in the CCP offices, gave you 2 hours, and then gave you the rules, which was have 44 ships and 11 comps. And then the enemy team got to ban 6 of those comps, and then you had to win 3 out of 5 matches with just 5 comps, and if you won a match with a comp, you couldn't bring it back, correct?
Yep.
All right.
Exactly.
And then I think the challenge there was you guys not only had to come up with these comps with 44 different ships, but you also had to fit them. Is that
Yeah, very short window of fitting, creating the comps. Clearly, my team didn't do it the most efficient way.
And what was your method for that, Lysus?
Well, we took a whole different approach of setting up the comps. We spent too much time on the comps and knowing that we only needed 3 really good comps to win. So when it came, we created first a list of linchpin ships, game changer ships. You know, Guardian, Get a Navy, like these are ships that we want to use, and then a list of ships that we just don't care about much, which is pretty much the T1, a lot of T1 frigates. That's why we had 2 T1 frigate comps, which allowed us to consolidate a lot of these strong ships into these other 9 comps, just so and like to make it a little harder for them to ban. Of course, we knew that the frigates weren't going to get banned, but like I said, 5 comps will go through. You only need to win 3, so having 3 really strong comps was our strategy there.
And then, Kelon, can you give us an idea of what your strategy was?
We actually went in a little bit more prepared because Waza actually kind of predicted what they would do here, and he already made up 5 comps with no overlapping ships. But we had to do a lot of catching up and rethinking when it turned into 11 comps with no overlapping ships.
Okay, so you guys came a little bit more prepared, and then I think I may have mentioned this earlier, but you guys had to also fit those ships, and with 2 hours to not only come up with a comp but then fit the ship, it's like you have basically 2 minutes to fit a ship that you're hopefully familiar with, and if you're not, you may get kind of thrown under the bus with that.
Yeah, that happened with Executioner. The 30-kilometer lock range with the beam fit did not work very well.
Yeah, and so...
Because my range was 30 kilometers and my lock range was 30 kilometers, and yeah, it didn't work out very well.
Yeah, that would be kind of troublesome. So I'm looking at Twitch chat, and I think everyone is just saying pickup lines. But anyway, back to the championship. So you guys had to come up with these, ban your enemies' comps, 6 of their comps, and then hopefully by Friday you're well prepared to go in and play. Did you guys get any time to practice flying at all?
Theoretically, we could have practiced because we knew what the comps we were going to be fighting. Our team did not do any practicing because Lucian didn't bring his computer, so we were like, yeah, well, whatever. However it works.
What about you, Lysus?
Classic PL.
No practicing, just a lot of theory crafting, of more theory crafting of strategies. Of if we are in this comp and we comp against this comp, what can we do? Should we go in aggressive posture, defensive posture? Like, on stage I had that piece of paper with the different strategies and plays that we could use against the different their comps that they had available.
So you guys knew your enemies' comps because you obviously got to see them and ban them. But did you see the fits at all?
No.
No, we didn't know any of the fits.
Okay, so it was just a lot of, like, as you said, theory crafting, no actual practicing. So I'm guessing you guys were pretty comfortable flying whatever ships you were assigned, I would assume. Correct?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially since they kept putting me in the Omen Navy and Omen.
Do you fly those a lot?
I don't. I don't at all. I do not fly those ships, and like neither the Zealot. Like the only time I've flown them on TQ was when I was part of when AHACs were like the fleet comp to go with, when it was like Zealots and Guardians would just wreck people all day, and that's really the whole history of Lysus flying Zealots. I've never flew Omen Navy before. I just kind of learned how to do it in game, and thank God I did somewhat okay.
So you think you did pretty well flying a ship you've probably never flown much before, then?
Exactly. Like there's a lot of times in those matches, live matches during the finals, that one of the ships that we were engaging would have died a lot faster if I was more comfortable with flying like the Omen Navy, because I wasn't used to its tracking capabilities, and its locking range, and how fast I have to go in reference to the target I'm trying to kill. So I was doing a lot of missing shots. Like, yeah, I could kite, but I wasn't really using its damage application in the most optimal fashion, which led to a lot of ships living a lot longer than they should have.
Okay, well, I never knew that. I guess I just assumed you were in a tournament, so you would have flown everything by that point. But so I learn something new every day.
Yeah, that's why, like, streaming lately, I've been practicing kiting ships. I've been using Omen Navy's Orthruses just so I could get better at that particular PvP style of play. Because I felt if I was able to just fly a little bit better, we could have gone early 2-0 or you know a 2-1 instead of going down to going down 2-1. We could have been up
The
2-1.
wire.
Yeah, there was some really close stuff, and I knew if I just would have applied better and held that heretic or not overshot it, we would have been could have been a whole different match.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed in us because we could have won the first match if we had primaried the Pilgrim right away. I'm not quite sure why we primaried the Legion instead of the Pilgrim. Straight chess, I guess.
Yeah, that first match was insane.
So you guys are talking a lot about your own piloting mistakes. Was there any time in a match where you or one of your teammates pulled off like something amazing where you thought, oh, we're gonna be losing this one, and then a teammate pulls through and just perfect flying and kind of carries you guys?
I thought Maxine was almost managed to do that for us in the first match. If you managed to get to those drones in time, the Pontifex would have died.
Oh yeah, and then you guys would have been tied, and I understand when
No, in the first match we would have been one up instead of
you would have
one
won.
down.
Oh, okay. What happens?
Yeah, because that was really close, and I guess you could say the first match as well because I believe Anarasis was in the lead. Was the Legion pilot, and he switched to the precision missiles, and that helped kill the drones a lot faster, which kept me just on the cusp of death. It was close.
So I mentioned tying. So I know that all the points are the same. So what happens when you have when both teams had 2 ships left or 1 ship left? Who determines the tiebreaker?
I believe it
there's a
would go
5-minute
to overtime, right? Yeah, overtime.
5-minute overtime and it's still alive, then it's DPS, I believe, for the first one. And I don't know if there's any others after that.
Okay. So it's kind of similar, or at least the overtime is kind of similar to how the ATs run. And then I noticed while watching live, there was one point where I believe it was Lysus's team was up with 2 ships, and then Kelon, your team only had 1 ship alive. And I noticed CCP Fozzie had mentioned the kind of just because you're winning doesn't mean you can't stop fighting type mechanic. Falcon, would you mind explaining that a little bit to the audience?
Sorry, you broke up a little bit. Could you repeat the question again?
Yeah, no problem. So there was the mechanic, or there was the rule where if you're winning, you're not allowed to stop fighting. And there's they called it, I forget what it was called, but they kind of implied that you would be considered like the loser if you say won a match, like we're up 2 ships and then just flew around the arena and just didn't let the enemy try and shoot you.
Yeah, so this was something that we introduced for the MR Championships, and it was like, it was basically the court chamberlain who oversees the organization of the Imperial Succession Trials, which is the MR Championships in this case, basically put out a notification saying if we deem that you're fighting dishonorably or you're not honoring your heir in the correct manner, then we reserve the right basically to blow the crap out of you and consider you disqualified from the match. So the idea was basically to cut down on what you see in the Alliance tournament sometimes, go in and pick someone off that might be key to the opposing team's meta, then yeah, that's great. But if you get to the point where you just have this boring match where people are circling each other and there's not much going on, then we wanted to have a failsafe in place to make sure that we could keep the matches entertaining by, you know, having this clause that allowed us to make a solid play to go for a Logi or something like that. It's one of those things where it's fine if it happens for sort of, you know, if it's 15-30 seconds where people are kiting towards the edge of the arena, they're sort of like, they're looking for an entry to go in and pick someone off that might be key to the opposing team's meta, then yeah, that's great. But if you get to the point where you just have this boring match where people are circling each other and there's not much going on, then we wanted to have a failsafe in place to make sure that we could keep the matches entertaining by, you know, having this clause that allowed us to expunge those from the tournament who were deemed to be behaving in a dishonorable manner, so to speak.
Yeah, and I noticed Elise put in chats, cowards never die, cowards never win rule. And so that kind of, I guess, summarizes what you just said, is you're not allowed to kind of run away just because you're winning. And then, so speaking of that, I know Lysus, at one point, I remember Fozzie was commentating, and he brought that up in a very deliberate manner, as though he was trying to tell you guys to stop. I want to say you were kiting or running away and tell you guys to go back in. Do you remember that at all, that match at all?
Yeah, I do, and our reaction was like, "Oh shit, that's right! Oh my god!" So I was like, "I'll just get in range and show some lasers because at that point the match count was Tashmer Khan was up 2 and we were just 1, and we had to win that match to bring it to game 5. And the call was, okay, just kite and stay away. And then we heard Fozzie say that rule. We're like, oh my god, fuck. So I told Hoodie because he was in the Vengeance.
Vengeance.
He was in a Vengeance. I told him to stay away because I could at least shoot at range and show aggression. Even though I wasn't really hitting, I was at least showing aggression. And I think he tried to shoot some rockets, but of course they weren't hitting at all because they were out of range. But the last 20 seconds he went in, and I made sure Logi drones are on him. But at least we showed some of aggression instead of just completely kiting away and doing nothing. But yeah, we definitely needed that reminder.
Yeah, because I know.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. It was pretty funny watching Waz's shields go up while you were shooting lasers at him, though.
Yeah, I wasn't hitting. I was in lock range, just like screw it.
Yeah, if that Vengeance had gone after Waz, it would have died.
Yeah, definitely. That's what we were afraid of.
Yeah.
And their grapple webs are OP.
Yep, exactly, dude. That was our biggest worry. Why, I'm like, I'll be the one who will show some aggression to it. You just kind of stay as far away as possible.
Yeah, and I know that rule. What's that, Elise?
In the sorry, I was just saying in the Alliance tournament, the strategy, if there are 2 rush teams or 2 very similar teams, the first one that charges in almost always loses because they get separated off and they get tackle peeled off and stuff like that. So it's a really too. Exactly, it's a really good rule to just make sure that people just don't sit on the edge and wait for that last minute just to snipe one ship and then they're done.
Yeah, I think at least I thought it worked pretty well because I know those matches can get kind of long. So if there's all the action within the first 5 minutes, and the match is 10 minutes long, the last 5 minutes can get pretty boring if it's just like a kiting game, like an endless kiting game, and it's not too entertaining to watch. But when you have all the good PvP, or the at least attempted PvP, as Lysus would put it, it's at least a little more entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, this idea of not wanting to just get us to game 5 was the only thing in our mind there.
Correct, yeah. And then I heard, so I had stepped out for game 5, but I heard there was some, I don't want to say technical difficulties, but there was some, I guess, they called it the Fozzie fit, and you guys had mentioned it was probably the closest match, especially since it was the last one in winner take all. I know, Lysus, do you want to kind of explain that, especially the Fozzie fit?
Well, the Guardian comp was one of the comps we didn't get to fit. And the other comp that we didn't fully fit, other than the frigates, of course, was our APOC Navy comp. And that was half fit, but when it came to us waiting for the bans from Kelon's team, I was confident that at least the Guardian comp will be banned outright. And I was more hoping that the APOC Navy would be the one to go. Of course, it didn't go that way. So we were told that the fits would be made for us. And thus the reason why we held that comp to the last, because our strategy was to try to go 2-0 real quick and then have 3 chances to try to win with that comp with the Guardian. Because still a Guardian, it could still rep. But it was a very suboptimal Guardian fit. And not just the Guardian, all the ships are quite suboptimal in a sense, but it's clearly our fault. But it was all T1 fits, no meta, legit T1. No cap boosters. Our Guardian had a sensor booster and 2 smart bombs. It did have some large reps, but of course they were T1. It was still viable. All the ships were viable, and possibility of winning with them was there. But against their curse comp, that was just the exact perfect counter to a comp that had no cap boosters whatsoever. And as much as we could joke to say, oh, Fozzie, you killed us, it was really just our fault.
Yeah, so you guys, I mean, I know sometimes for tournaments, the rule makers can be pretty brutal. And they say, well, you didn't fit the ship, so you get to fly an unfit ship, and you just kind of get an unfit Guardian just to fly around and do nothing. But at least he was nice enough to give you guys somewhat of a chance.
Yeah, I believe that Guardian comp could have done really well against any other of the Kelon team's comp. But that curse there and not having the cat boosters, even in my Omen didn't have a cat booster. One hit from the curse newts and that was done. And most of the DPS that came out that whole match was mostly drone damage, and especially when the sacrilege went down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was running from drones the whole match. It was just sort of hillbilly music going on.
And Kelon, you were always in the frigate, is that correct?
Yeah.
One of my
No one wanted to be in the Tech 1 frigates.
Yeah, one of my
So I volunteered.
Yeah, so when I always watch tournaments, I always like watching to see what the frigates do because sometimes it's absolutely hilarious. Because like the battleships and the battle cruisers are great to watch them just like sit on top of each other and shoot each other. But then when you get frigates whipping around the arena, just like flying super fast, it looks really funny. Like you said, the Benny Hill music is the best. So Lysus, since you mentioned that the Guardian could have gone against any of other Kelon's comps, can I ask why you didn't take the Guardian sooner and you tried to win with your other comps first?
Yeah, so the strategy was try to go up 2-0. Because the reason why we got super excited when we won the first match is because, oh my god, maybe we can go 2-0. And like, I got really excited after we won that first match. It was a really tough fitted comp to go up against. So the strategy was go up 2-0. If we're up 2-0, then we have 3 chances to do this. And that's what we want. We want to have the most optimal chance to win. Because we knew we could at least win and create some type of a show to the audience and, to decor our house by using our actually properly fitted comps. To, make it entertaining. We didn't want to go down 3-0. That would have been, everyone would have hated us, and that would have been a horrible March Championship. So that's why we decided to hold that off and go with try to 2-0 and then 3 tries with that comp. But it just didn't go that way. But I'm just happy we got to game 5.
Second comp needed 3 tries.
Yeah. Second comp needed 3 tries, which, even that, man, there was times we could have won that comp, and it was just silly pilot mistakes. Definitely on my part, like when I was talking about proper application with my guns, I was having issues with that. I would never use polarized bomber again because they go down way too fast. Polarized, in my eyes, are just the worst thing ever.
Yeah, we thought about that, and we did some testing, and it was just really hard for them to get any transversal up.
It goes down way too fast.
Not to die.
Yeah, it goes down way too fast.
Something gets range, it dies. It dies. It just dies immediately.
Pretty much. So yeah, we were practically throwing a ship away when it came to having that polarized bomber. The idea was there, so it could do a lot of damage, but even the slightest of hits and that thing is gone.
Yeah. So I want to take a change of topic, and I know we have Elise Randolph here, and Elise sadly got knocked out. I think the first weekend didn't really do too well. But if you notice, his character looks very Amarian, and I want to talk more about commentary, because Elise was one of the 3 player commentators. The other 2 were Sutonia and Apophany, if you guys know them. But Elise, tell us how it was to commentate and kind of the process you did to apply for that, or get that position.
Well, I was really fortunate because luckily I lost really early, which sounds kind of not that great. But since I lost so early in the Amar Championship, I was able to apply to be a commentator, and luckily they decided to pick me, which I was like super happy about because commentating Alliance tournaments and stuff like that is one of my favorite things. And on top of that, I got like incredibly into the Amar Championship and the lore around it, and I completely nerded out. I nerded out to the point where I actually made PL go to war with some dudes based on some forum post in the in-game, like the basically the EVE Online role-playing forums. I started participating in there, and I got so mad at some dude who was throwing shade at me for not being genuine that I set PL to war. I like screwed up our entire logistics network and everything. It's the first time PL's gone to war in like 8 years or something. I was like, you know what? Screw it. This guy made fun of me on the forums. I'm gonna go to war. And so I did, and it was really fun.
Did the rest of PL know about this, or were they just like, oh, Elise declared war, he must like have some beef with that guy? And like, did they even know that you were reading into the lore and like I guess role playing on the forums and
I
whatnot?
mean, I'm not gonna say I was embarrassed about it, but I was a little bit embarrassed by it. But I did tell them, I was like, "Yo, guys, as Jump Raiders, you're gonna have to leave Corp or leave Alliance for a week or two, because this guy on the forums is kind of mean to me. So I gotta make our Alliance go to war. So hopefully you can understand my position here. And luckily, they think way too highly of me. So they let me do my ridiculous stuff.
They didn't do a hostile takeover for your
No,
shenanigans.
there are no coups, thank God.
So you said you got really into the lore. Kind of, how'd you go about that? Did you just research the houses that were involved, or did you do a lot of history on like the Amar like empire?
So basically, what I did is I read a few of the Eve books, which I had read before, and they didn't help all that much, but they helped a little bit. And then I read basically every chronicle that I could find. I just was like, I'm gonna read this just to see if there's anything about the Amar Empire in here. And I realized that the Eve lore was incredibly incredibly deep and incredibly, I don't know, I just found it to be just supremely fascinating, to be honest. And storyline in Eve Online, like I've played Eve for 11 years or something, and it's never something I got really into, at least not seriously, until I started reading the chronicles and stuff. And then I was like, wow, this stuff is actually really fascinating. And luckily, the Amarian Empire and the Amar storyline has the most like in-depth sort of storyline built into it. Like the Glen thing, Kadali, whatever, they do their own thing. But the Amar, like, seems like everyone in the Amar, everyone in the role player community is really into the Amar Empire.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Were you able to, like, despite all your research, were you able to at least incorporate some of that into your commentary?
I tried really hard to incorporate all that stuff in, and I was like, I remember asking CCB Antiquarian right before, like, are we gonna be in characters? Should I like bring a robe to this thing? And he looked at me like I was completely insane. So unfortunately, I didn't get to use my my little robes that I had
You
kind
had,
of wanted to. Granted, it was kind of just a bathrobe, but it did have some like Amar vestments to it.
did you
That would have
like,
been so awesome.
you didn't cosplay like Max Singularity does with like the whole Space Pope outfit?
No, I didn't, unfortunately. And like Mintara Newell's entire team, they cosplayed as well in like full Sarum robes that weren't bathrobes. They were actually like proper, and they were good, and they were actually like incredibly cool. But no, I did not think that far ahead, and I'm not that talented to think that far ahead, unfortunately.
Yeah. So how do you, I want to say, I want to like ask like very vague questions, but that's pretty difficult when talking about commentary. But kind of how do you prepare for this Amar championship? Like, did you just, I know you've been commentator on the AT and other various tournaments, so did you rely on that information, or did you do some special research beyond just the lore about Amar ships and whatnot?
Luckily, I'm a huge nerd, so I had watched every single match, even though I didn't know if I was going to be a commentator or not. I was just like genuinely interested in the matches, and I loved watching them. So I watched Kelon Darklight's team just go completely undefeated, and I watched Lysus's team like come back from the brink of death, and then like be basically the Cinderella story. So I got to see all that as it came out, and I was like, wow, there's no way you couldn't even write a story as good as what happened.
Nice.
So I essentially relied on basically what I had seen through the thing, and what I had done in previous Alliance tournaments, and tried to, I don't want to say build on it, but I did want to build on what I've done before, because I always want to be a little bit better, and like I want to send the people that are watching, like I want them to see the passion that goes into it, because these things are huge passion projects. It's not easy. It's not just goofing around. It's not just like picking random stuff and having fun. There is so much work that goes into it, and so many things that need to be considered before making a team, especially when you have like a 2-hour time limit. I remember I had to do a PvP tournament where I had 2 minutes to fit a ship, or 1 minute to fit a ship or something like that. And I just didn't even put ammo in my guns, or didn't even put any high slots in, because I just panicked the entire time. And I couldn't imagine doing that for 11 setups. Like none of my like I'm glad I got knocked out, because I would have just been made a fool and it would have gone down 0-3, because I would have just freaked out the entire 2 hours. Like there's no way I would have been able to fit 11 setups.
Yeah, I'm super impressed with both Lysus and Kelon's, I guess, performance and preparation because I know at FanFest, like we were all out at the bar super late Wednesday, and Kelon and Lysus were there, and they just looked like they just wanted to die. They were just like, what is wrong with my life? What have I done? All my hopes and dreams flash before my eyes, type thing. But
The
then
best part was Fozzie's reaction. He was just sitting there in the corner, just laughing, looking at these two guys. Like he was like, he was just staring at least Lysis. I'm not sure if all of the Kelon team was there, but I know some of them were. And he was just like sitting there chuckling, being like, "Yeah, uh, they really, really, really panicked hard," and I just laughed the entire time. And I would believe it. I believe CCB Fozzie was like laughing maniacally the entire time as these poor guys. Like I'm
He
sure there were like
was.
videos in there, just and he was just sitting there watching it like in real time, just laughing.
I mean, yeah, I guess CCP also stresses out super hard for FanFest, so he's probably like, oh man, now I can finally relax and these nerds have to deal with the championship.
Yeah, it's like there's the Citadel expansion and FanFest coming in like right next to each other, and he can just like relax and just watch Lysis have a complete like mental breakdown while trying to fit 44 setups in 2 hours.
I couldn't even enjoy FanFest really. Like I didn't go partying. I went to bed early.
Did-
Like,
Did you party hard Friday after the championships? Or were you just like, fuck it, I lost. I might as well go out and like make the most of it now?
no, no partying whatsoever. I was just like, I'm just like
I-
nothing.
I ate dinner, I went to my bed, and I went to sleep.
You didn't even go
I
out
have
and
no
get
energy.
all the free drinks for being the champion?
No, I was totally out of energy.
Oh my gosh, you guys, you could have like worn your, I know you guys got like little medals and everything. You could have just flashed those everywhere and probably gotten free drinks and stuff.
Yeah, nope.
You poor
I
thing.
missed so many round tables. I was there for one thing and one thing only.
You poor thing. Alright, so Elise, back
To go to that museum, right?
Yes, the penis museum, best thing.
E-
Highly recommend everyone go.
You can post those pictures on Twitter for everyone to see.
I will totally post the whole album.
Oh my gosh, please just don't link it in chat. I don't want this channel getting in trouble.
It's science. It's cool.
Alright,
It'll probably be me, the one that gets banned again.
probably just your channel, not me. Alright, so back to commentary. Elise, I know there were probably, I think it was technical difficulties while you guys, like before you went live and then while you went live. How do you handle all that extra airtime when you're just kind of sitting there and you've already discussed everything that needs to be discussed? How do you handle that, those like kind of lulls in like time where you have to make up airtime?
I mean, luckily we had an incredibly talented team there, and like CZB Falcon could talk about all the lore and stuff. CZB Antiquarian can just talk about basically everything. And Suetonia and Apothony were just incredible. Like Suetonia, like I can't overstate how great he was as a commentator for the first time doing it on a main stage. Like it doesn't sound like it should be unnerving, but like you sit there in what is essentially an auditorium, you look out and you see like hundreds of people there just looking at you, and you're like, oh, this is pretty stress worthy. And Suetonia just took it right in stride, and he knew literally everything that was going on in all of the team comps, and he knew every setup. He knew basically what every team was going to do before they did it, and he was a great resource to rely on. And Apothony, of course, he's a commentator veteran and also a host for the EVNT like Fight Club series, so he knows what to do. And like we had worked together before, and I had also worked with Suetonia before and Antiquarian in Alliance Horns at EVNT. So like we had a really solid foundation, so we could just joke about stuff. I know I talked about World Star Hip Hop in there, which kind of doesn't really work in a more lore, but whatever. It totally played. And luckily the crowd was understanding of what happened, and they were like, yeah, I mean, obviously this sort of thing would happen on like the grand stage, of course. Of course you couldn't be blessed with like perfect everything working, but
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
really it was really great.
My favorite part was being teleported to the system I was already in twice.
Oh, they
Yeah,
had
I mean, a
in-game
few things
technical.
broke. It's okay.
Yeah, I know I was part of the Eve TV, and I know, especially as a streamer, like even for me, this show had technical difficulties because clearly I don't know how to get my mic working. So it does not surprise me that these big events CCP puts on don't go flawlessly because obviously technology always fails, the internet always fails. But if I can be frank, you guys did actually really well. If I think Antiquarian would announce like, oh, we're having technical difficulties, so we're just gonna continue talking just so the fans back home or the people watching back home knew. But I noticed you guys handled it in very, very well. I was pretty impressed with how, especially like you mentioned, Sutonia, he was able just to talk about almost anything you guys asked him, and that was pretty impressive.
I think if Sutoni and Fozzie weren't there, it would just have devolved into me just talking about random stuff that I watched on World Star Hip Hop, and it would have been
World
awful.
Star.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been like Lysus would have appreciated it, but everyone
Yeah.
else would have been like, "I tuned in for the Amara Championships. Why are you talking about World Star? Like, what is this?" But thankfully, Sutoni and Fozzie just like were able to carry the whole thing, and they were incredible.
Yeah, and speaking of World Star, I want to say, Lysus, there was at one point, what would you have done? You had mentioned this before, other places, but what would you have done if your team had won that 5th match?
Oh, my clothes are gonna go off. I was gonna strip down on stage and just rage and hype and get hypey.
Would you have?
It was gonna go down.
Did you have like Velcro pants and shirts on so you could just like rip off your clothes and throw them into the crowd, or like how is this gonna work?
I have really good skills at stripping my clothes off really fast from experience.
I should not have asked you that.
You know, shaking the hips. It comes with being Brazilian.
Very interesting.
I mean, I'm sure I would have joined in as well. So I'm sure the crowd is glad, or the crowd is glad that you did not win, even though they're all kind of rooting for like the comeback story. I'm sure they're glad because I would have been incredibly awkward.
Cheering for bets too. They wanted to win those 4-1 odds or whatever it was.
Exactly.
Yeah,
There's so many people that bet on Eve Bet.
No, yeah. So I had heard that. I think everyone I talked to said that they had bet money on Kelon's team, but they had really hoped Lysus would win because I know during I want to say the preliminaries, but like when you were trying to get to the finals, that you had almost gotten knocked out, but then you came back. Whereas Kelon's team went 5-0, easy.
And I think that's how I got the reputation of being able to fly the almond holes is because of my performance in that 3rd match with the Zealot and staying alive, even though I got to like super low armor and bringing back and being able to stay in the match.
Yeah, I think that's pretty.
We were able to somehow win that 3rd game and win our next 2 after that as well. Blew my mind over. Yeah, the Navy Geddon, so good. And I think that's how I got the reputation of being able to fly the almond holes is because of my performance in that 3rd match with the Zealot and staying alive, even though I got to like super low armor and bringing back and being able to stay in the match.
Yeah, I think that's pretty funny how you got that reputation, and then you mentioned you don't really have experience flying those types of ships. But
yeah,
hey,
yeah, not at all.
if it works, right? It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
All right, so we're coming up on the end of the hour, and unless you guys have anything more to add, I am ready to close out. Do you guys have any shout-outs or anything more you want to add? We'll start with you, Elise.
I don't know. I guess shout out to Pandemic Horde for being hilarious little dudes who own all the time. And also to the entire Alliance Tournament team, like, and the MR Championship team, the amount of effort that went into this event, like, to make it go as well as it did, it was incredible. And also, yeah, let's give a shout out to Kelon and Lysus. Like, they took it to 5 games. Like, they made it a show, like a completely intriguing show to watch. So big ups to them for like going through that entire situation and especially hearing about how they treated FanFest, and they were like super nervous and they went to bed early just to prepare for it. Like, definitely big ups to them.
Yeah, you guys put on a great show.
None of our guys were not partying the night before.
Do you have any shout outs, Kelon?
Big shout out to Uni, where I learned all my PvP skills in, though there's a lot of people outside the uni that taught me things as well.
And then you, Lysus?
I guess I'm gonna say it, but CCP for just making an awesome game and ruining my life, getting me addicted to it. And also core Zorskins, please.
And then, do you have any shoutouts, CCP Falcon?
Yeah, shout out to both Kelon and Lysus. You guys did amazing. It was a final definitely worthy of FanFest. And a huge shout out to all the guys who came to FanFest. I mean, it was fantastic to see the room packed out to watch the finals. The big shout out to all the guys who take part in the tournament and support the tournament as well, because we wouldn't be able to put it on without you guys.
All right, thank you guys for joining me in my little, what do you call it, hot chocolate show, I guess. I really appreciate you guys coming out. I am greatly enjoying tournaments, especially the player run ones. And so with that, I'll close it out, and goodbye, Twitch chat. I'm gonna show my video again because it's absolutely amazing and you guys love it.